world's biggest motorsport event comes to a close. It's time for celebration. Mark Comer victorious on 2 wheels. On 4 wheels, it's Janil de Villiers on top of the world. Celebration for the Russians, Kamaz dominating once more. Celebration time first thing this morning for Mark Comer, coming over the line and celebrating his second Dakar victory. The quiet man from Barcelona was certainly not quiet upon his return to Buenos Aires. A massive win for Comer. He managed to lead every single day. And he managed to beat a former 2-time winner, the man from France, the former #1 plate holder, Cyril Dupre. His next target is 2010. And what an effort for 3rd position for David Frétigné on the much smaller 450cc Yamahas. Everybody got busy with the fizzy under summer skies in Buenos Aires. Frétigné, he admitted yesterday he was really dreaming to be in 3rd, but now he could live the dream. 4th, David Castello. David, who had such a rotten first week, up there in 4th. Rodriguez from Portugal, beating Pal-Anders Olivaceta for 5th position right at the flag. Jordi Viadoms, he's a star for the future and a possible winner. Frans Verhoeven, victorious on 2 stages and always the showman. He got 8th. Whilst fellow Dutchman Knoyman getting 9th position. Goncalves on behalf of Portugal rounding out the top 10. Leading lady Miriam Pol from Holland, 53rd position, humbling many men. Josef Maciejczak victorious on the quads ahead of local hero Marco Patronelli, Rafał Sonik in 3rd. But for everybody here in Buenos Aires who finished, everybody a winner, everybody happy to get to the end. For the start of the bikes in Buenos Aires, it was a massive affair. Over 500,000 people downtown 2 weeks ago. Right into the first stage, the fans were out to greet everybody coming through, including Christina Meyer on board, the German lady, having fun. For Cyril Dupre, the reigning champion, he was out for Dakar victory #3, but on the very first stage, his new Pirellis were not up to scratch. He punctured the rear and he lost over 40 minutes. Days later, his rear shock absorber was faulty and Dupre was thrown over the handlebars. In all, he lost nearly an hour and a half in the first week. He thought his Dakar was over. But the problems were not Dupre's. Alain Duclos also had no rubber left. Nor did Francisco Lopez, desperate to change his rear, and David Castello too, incredulous that his rally was falling apart on the very first stage. Once out of the farmland, the dust started. Dust like no one had ever seen before, even on an African Dakar. Here in South America, the Dakar was living up to its wicked name. But through all of this, teammates stuck together. At times, your teammate was your only way to stay in the rally. As the stages got bigger, the stages got harder. and the first views of the all-new Dakar Rally proving that this event was to be no easy cakewalk as some has expected. The deserts were massive, hard enough for the professionals to battle on through, and even they were then having trouble, whatever the view was at the top of the dunes. But for the privateers, it was their first reminder of Africa in the dunes, but their first taste of South America. At least once they got to the top, the view was fun, although most of the time they didn't have chance to enjoy it. Dupre had to try hard to make time back any way he could. But Coma was always close. And as others had fun, and others had close moments, you could get fooled at any time in the entire 9,500 kilometres. Dupre knew that he had won from an hour and a half back in 2007, but likewise he knew that Coma was not going to give up and not make the same mistake again. There were no times for enjoying the tallest volcano in the world, and really the only blot on Coma's copybook a small off, his only misdemeanor of the whole rally. The rally had started on the shores of the Atlantic in Buenos Aires, running through the Pampas and up to the foothills of the Andes. And for Francisco Lopez, he was going home to Chile. His pace was quickening, sensing a good run, and the rally's biggest cheer reserved for him by the Chilean crowd. He rode over the Andes back home to a hero's welcome, winning the stage. After the rest day in Valparaiso, the entire country was wrapped up in Lopez mania. The massive stage at Copiapo was delayed, giving a short rest for riders whilst the fog cleared. It was the epitome of the quiet before the storm, one of the rally's hardest stages ahead of them. Everybody knew that the second week of the Dakar was going to be so much harder than the first, but nobody knew how hard the Copiapo stage was to be. And while Coma and Dupre battled at the front, they were being chased by Frenchman David Frétinier. He was on the smaller 450cc Yamaha up against the 660 KTMs. The bike was lighter and more nimble, but it was outgunned on the quick sections. But Frétinier still got an incredible third in the overall standings. That was third, even though at times he was finishing some stages with no oil at all in the engine. No oil whatsoever. David Castello's disastrous first half of the rally was then a fortuitous second half. He kept cool in the searing heat to get fourth come Buenos Aires. Helder Rodriguez won the final stage and he was fifth overall, just 5 minutes behind Castello. But for the privateers, it was nothing but difficult out there in the Atacama Desert, the driest desert on Earth. Even at the low speeds, concentration, you had to be razor sharp. You could easily talk your way into an accident. These were the world's hardest and highest dunes. Once more, the view so pleasing. But leading from start to finish, every day of the 2-week event meant the second victory for Mark Coma. Coma victorious, an hour and 25 minutes ahead of Dupre. Bretigny, superb third ahead of the recovering Castello. Rodriguez in fifth. Sixth was Oliver Seta from Viadoms, Verhoeven, Henk Neumann and Paulo Goncalves, rounding out the top 10. Josef Maticek, the Czech Republic rider on board the Yamaha, victorious on the quad. Celebration time in Buenos Aires, the end of the Dakar for 2009, but celebration time for Volkswagen, coming across the podium with a 1-2 for Janil de Villiers and Dirk von Zitzewitz, the South African former touring car driver and now winner of the world's toughest motorsport event. Victorious ahead of American teammate Mark Miller and fellow South African to de Villiers, Ralph Pitchford, the former mechanic co-driving Miller. For Chris Nissen and the Volkswagen squad based in Wolfsburg in Germany, the highlights of their illustrious careers. But this is not the first time that Volkswagen have been victorious on the Dakar. On the second ever Dakar back in 1980, they won with their much lesser known Iltis. Driven by Kutalinsky and Knuffelmann, a Swede and a German, they managed to beat Patrick Zanaroli, similar Volkswagen, into second position. Things in those days were a little more Heath Robinson, but they managed to win the monster set of stages through France, Algeria, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Upper Volta, and then finally into Senegal. It was real hairy stuff in those days, but still the spirit of the Dakar nowadays is so similar. Robbie Gordon, third position for him on this year's Dakar, and the crowd's favourite. He lost out on the win by nearly an hour and 3/4, but he can account for where every single second was lost. He was the leading two-wheel drive, the leading petrol engine, and the star for many. He jumped off the starting podium and he jumped off the finishing podium. Donuts akimbo for Robbie Gordon, the team with the coolest style on the Dakar. Ivar Erik Tollefsen, the man from Norway, was in fourth position and leading privateer. Fifth was former WRC driver and now star of Poland, Krzysztof Olewicz. BMW flew but faltered while leading, an overheating engine eventually being the downfall of Nasser Al-Attiyah. So it was Leonard Nowinski and Gerland Schischeritz who were 8th and 9th. Mitsubishi came with a brand new car, but it got well and truly beaten. Only one of the 4 brand new Lancers making it to the finish. Spaniard Nani Roma flying the Japanese flag in the dunes. The T2 production class was won by Frenchman Nicolas Givon in his Toyota, a sterling effort. Leading lady was Isabelle Patissier in her buggy, 17th position. While the all-girl crew of Florence Bourgnon and Clémence Joyet were 85th, in love with Argentina. Buenos Aires, capital of Argentina and host to the start of the all-new Dakar Rally. Just after New Year, the world's biggest motorsport event got underway in front of 500,000 people. One of the longest ever first stages was good to Nasser Al-Attiyah, the reigning World Cup champion. He flew and he was leading. A brand new car was no match for Carlos Sainz, who was on his third Dakar. Sainz was leading Volkswagen's charge, then jumping into the lead after the second stage. It was Sainz versus Al-Attiyah, Spain versus Qatar, both former World Cup champions battling for the biggest prize in off-roads. But behind the leaders, the Mitsubishis were pushing hard, their all-new diesel struggling at times to stay on the roads. And whilst Mitsubishi were in third, For other people further down, dust was the story for the privateers and the amateurs further back. It was like hell on earth. Primetime television and national advertising in this part of the world made the Dakar ultra popular. Stefan Pederhansen was charging, but he took a big roll, making crippling damage to the works Mitsubishi. The reigning champion only just got away with it. He was lucky to continue the next day. But for Sainz there was even more drama. He lost his power steering, he couldn't control the car, and he rolled. And he rolled out of the leads. Nasser Al-Attiyah was then the leader, but he had overheating problems. He tactically took a risk by missing out some of the stage, but unfortunately he was disqualified and he was out. After the dust was then mud. Luc Alphonse getting stuck in it together with Nowitzki. For Alphonse, unbelievably, he was out of the rally in the mud. And things were getting no better for Pederhansen. His engine was on fire. And once they'd used the extinguisher, they shoveled sand onto it. He was out as well. Robbie Gordon now up to 5th position, continuing to uphold two-wheel drive honours, even though at times he went rubber side up. Sainz had fought back and managed to overhaul de Villiers, retaking the lead by an amazing 9 seconds at exactly the halfway point. Nowitzki was being the best BMW, at times going a little bit too hard, but for others, they were lucky to get away with bigger moments. Fortunately, the crew okay. The day in Copiapo was full of stunning sights, dunes, the kind that had never been seen before in 30 years of rallying. But even then, sometimes you can find nowhere to park. During the height of summer, in the driest desert in the world, many said that the sand was around their wheels, just like water. At times, there was just no way out.
Bien joué, 1 kg 2 Gilles.
Orlando Terranova, the man from Argentina, was the man on a mission, leading the early part of the Copiapo stage, but then he rolled. He'd rolled it before, and this time he was not getting away with it. Ivar Erik Tollefsen was seated outside the top 10, but he had calculated a more than measured pace. The Norwegian had bought his car, treating the Dakar as an adventure for himself, but had risen into the top 10. Teammate Polovic lost time on the massive Copiapo stage, dropping him to 7th overall. He was adamant that the latter stages would suit him in order to get his time back. Carlos Sainz made the break back towards Buenos Aires as the overall leader, 6 victories to his name on the stages. Not a single problem with the car, but then he lost his way. Surely he was not losing his cool.
We have to find à gauche.
Shishirit was lucky not to go over the edge, but moments later it was Sainz who went over the edge, and the leader of the Dakar rally tumbling and crashing out of the lead. It wasn't only Sainz who was having the drama. Co-driver Michel Perrin was diagnosed with a broken shoulder. He couldn't continue, and Sainz was utterly shattered. Roma was the lone Mitsubishi in the rally, battling from 4th, but getting stuck and then losing time with an overheating engine dropped him to the bubble of the top 10. Once he got going, he found the descents off the top of the dunes just immense. It was one of those stages though. The VWs remaining got lost. De Villiers and Miller trying to find their way out, trying to be the new leaders of the rally. The man finding the best way was De Villiers, leaving Miller 16 minutes back in the stage. come the finish line, third was to go to Robbie Gordon's Hummer. Christoph Holovic couldn't quite close back in. The pole had to settle for fifth. Teammate Ivar Erik Tollefsen was the one to take Nissan to a stunning fourth. And after Sainz's dramatic exit from the lead, VW were adamant that they weren't going to lose this rally. De Villiers stopped on the stage, waiting for his teammates to join him should he be in trouble. But come the finish, it was De Villiers who was victorious on Dakar 2009. De Villiers winning the very first diesel rally with the Volkswagen Touareg. The Dakar conquered just ahead of Mark Miller in second place. Depping, Zeppeltal, Novitsky, Chicherit and Roma rounding out the top 10. Frenchman Nicolas Gibon won the T2 class, the more standard Toyota doing so well. The truck class was eventually conquered by Virados Kabirov in his Russian Kamaz. Come to finish this afternoon in Buenos Aires. Kamaz once more dominating this rally, but it wasn't Kabirov's way all of the way. With only 2 days to go, Vladimir Chigin was leading the rally by just 14 seconds, but a puncture with 2 stages to go and his brakes on fire meant that he lost the rally by a tantalising 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Kabirov victorious, Chagin in second place, and Dutchman Gerard de Rooij bringing up the podium in third. The Argentina-Chile Rally 2009 has been an unforgettable experience. The greatest rally, the greatest motorsport event on earth has provided us with some stunning memories. Volkswagen coming out the victors of the world's biggest motorsport event. It has been truly memorable. We'll be back next year with more action. Can we beat 2009 in 2010? Oh yes, I'm sure we can. Join us next year. Goodbye for now.